Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj addressed the second Indo-U.S. Strategic and Commercial Dialogue in Delhi. Both sides review progress on decisions in areas of cooperation. India and US signed bilateral logistics exchange memorandum of agreement. Pact will give militaries of both countries access to each other's facilities for supplies and repairs. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates first phase of the Saurashtra irrigation project. Scheme is expected to bring relief to the park zones of the region by diverting surplus flood water. Panel advises government to use pellet guns in the Kashmir rally sparingly, suggests use of chili-filled grenades and stun-lac shells as viable alternatives to control mobs. And Brazil's suspended President Dilma Rousseff defends her record at a marathon session during her impeachment trial. Brazil's first female president says an economic elite destabilized her government. Our top story this evening, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj addressed the plenary session of the second Indo-U.S. Strategic and Commercial Dialogue in Delhi today. Both sides reviewed the progress on decisions taken in the past and identified new areas of cooperation.
At the plenary session of the second Indo-U.S. Strategic and Commercial Dialogue, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj discussed a host of issues of strategic importance and commercial interest to both countries. In his opening remarks, Kerry lauded the deepened cooperation between India and the U.S. in the areas of defense and energy, adding that there is now a need to finalize a cybersecurity framework.
Our countries have deepened our cooperation on defense, counterterrorism, and cybersecurity. Our armies and our navies hold joint exercises that keep expanding in size and scope, and that now includes thousands of troops every single year. And we look forward to finalizing a cyber framework that will help us all to be able to recognize and to protect against new and evolving threats to global security.
Kerry also said that the U.S. government wants to see the civil nuclear cooperation with India take shape soon.
We also hope to see our civil nuclear cooperation take shape in the form of new reactors that will deliver reliable electricity to tens of millions of Indian households.
Sushma Swaraj, on her part, stressed on the need to enhance cooperation in counter-terrorism. She also raised concerns over the issue of recent fee hike for H-1B and L-1 visas that has affected thousands of Indians and the totalization agreement.
Excellencies, our citizens are studying, living and earning their livelihood in each other's countries like never before. More than 1 million of our citizens are traveling in both directions every year, many of whom we hope will benefit from early implementation of the U.S. Global Entry Program for Indian nationals. The issue of totalization and recent fee hike for H-1B and L-1 visa has affected our people-to-people exchanges, which is a vital source of strength for our relationship. I am sure these issues will be deliberated in depth in the commercial track of our discussion, but I would urge you to find a just and non-discriminatory solution to these issues.
Besides the foreign ministers, Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and U.S. Secretary of Commerce Penny Pritzker also discussed ways to enhance cooperation in key areas of energy, trade and business.
Our leaders have agreed to a very ambitious target of taking the bilateral trade to about $500 billion US, and this would require both the sides to work in cooperation and resolve impediments to trade. I would like to assure you that we remain strongly committed to make India a better place to do business and to progressively liberalize our economy to facilitate greater investment.
Bringing more Indians and more Americans together is good for our economies, good for our people, and great for our relationship. In that spirit of partnership, this year we will also be focusing on connecting Indian and U.S. companies looking for investment opportunities with local leaders and economic development officers in the cities and states of both of our countries.
The Indo-US dialogue is a comprehensive mechanism to discuss and deliberate the entire gamut of cooperation between the two countries. It was elevated into a strategic and commercial dialogue during US President Barack Obama's visit to India in January 2015. The first such dialogue was held on the 22nd of September 2015 in the United States. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar has said that countering terrorism is an important objective shared by both India and the United States. Parrikar is on a 3-day visit to the United States. Earlier, the two sides signed the bilateral logistics exchange memorandum of agreement. The deal will give militaries of both countries access to each other's facilities for supplies and repairs.
Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar on Tuesday launched a veiled attack on Pakistan for the ongoing unrest in Kashmir. He said that a small percentage of the population was holding the majority to ransom in the valley. Parrikar was addressing a joint news conference with US Defence Secretary Ashton Carter at the Pentagon. He also maintained that the government is working proactively in handling the violence in the state. The Defence Minister also appreciated America's support to eliminate extremism in the neighborhood. On Monday, the first day of the Parrikar's visit, India and the US signed the bilateral logistic exchange memorandum of agreement. This agreement now makes India and the US logistical allies and enables the militaries on either sides to use each other's assets and bases for repair and replenishment of supplies.
It doesn't have anything to do with the setting up of base. It's basically logistic support to each other's fleet, like supply of fuel, supply of many other things which are required for joint operations, humanitarian assistance, and many other relief operations. So it's basically will ensure that the both navies can be supportive of each other in the joint operations we do, exercises we do.
China has downplayed the crucial defense pact and hoped the deal would be constructive for maintaining regional stability.
我们希望呢，印度和美国之间的这个相关的合作呢，是能够为地区的和平与稳定和发展呢发挥建设性作用的，发挥积极作用的。所以呢，对于印美之间的这种正常的关系，我们乐见其成。
During his US visit, Parrikar will also visit Boeing's manufacturing facility at Philadelphia and interact with American defense industry representatives at an event organized by the US-India Business Council. This is Parrikar's second visit to the US in 8 months. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the Soni project in Rajkot, Gujarat on Tuesday. The project aims to bring relief to the parched districts of the Saurashtra region. At a public rally, Modi emphasized on farmers' growth and said that the initiative will make every Gujarati proud.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the first phase of the Saurashtra Narmada Avatarana Irrigation Yojana Sauni in Rajkot on Tuesday, something he had envisioned during his chief ministerial tenure in 2012. The project aims to bring relief to the parched zones of the Saurashtra region by diverting surplus floodwater for irrigation purposes.
પણ ગુજરાતે મને જે કંઈ શીખવાડ્યું, ગુજરાત પાસેથી હું જે કંઈ શીખ્યો, એ મને ખૂબ કામમાં આવે છે ભાઈ. અને આજે અત્યંત સંતોષ સાથે મારે ગુજરાતના ખેડૂતોનો આભાર માનવો છે, અભિનંદન આપવા છે કે મોડે મોડે પણ એમણે મારી વાત સ્વીકારી અને ગયા 5-7 વર્ષ લગાતાર એમણે પાણી પર ધ્યાન કેન્દ્રિત કર્યું. અને આજે સૌની યોજના આપણી સામે સાકાર થયેલી જોવા મળે છે. પાણીનો જે ધોધ ભલભલાને અચરજ કરાવી દે.
The over 12,000 crore project will use additional flood water of the Narmada in Madhya Pradesh to supplement 115 dams in Gujarat. Under the Sauni project, the reach of the Saurashtra Canal will extend by 11 lakh hectares of farmland across 972 villages.
આના કારણે અને મારો અનુભવ છે ખેડૂત હિન્દુસ્તાનના કોઈ પણ ખૂણાનો હોય એને જો ખેતરમાં પાણી મળી જાય ને તો માટીમાંથી સોનું પેદા કરવાની એની અદ્ભુત તાકાત એકે એક ગુજરાતી ગર્વ કરે એવી આ સિદ્ધિ છે અને દેશવાસી પણ આટલી મોટી એન્જિનિયરિંગની કમાલ જુએ પાણીના મહાત્મ્યને સમજે તો સમગ્ર દેશવાસી માટે પણ આ ગૌરવપૂર્ણ ઘટના છે.
While addressing his first public rally in his home state after taking charge as Prime Minister, Narendra Modi focused on farmers and their potential. He also acknowledged the state's development and initiatives taken by the state administration.
સમૃદ્ધિ આવી રીતે આવતી હોય છે, પરિવર્તન આવી રીતે આવતા હોય છે. અરે ટુકડા ફેંકીને તો ચૂંટણીઓ ચાલે, ટુકડા ફેંકીને દેશ ન ચાલે દોસ્તો. અને એટલા માટે અમે ટુકડા ફેંકવાનો માર્ગ નથી અપનાવ્યો, અમે એક સમગ્રતા પરિવર્તનનો માર્ગ અપનાવ્યો અને લગાતાર 1.5 દાયકો તપસ્યા કરી અને એનું પરિણામ છે કે આજે ગુજરાતની ધરતી પર સ્થાયી રૂપે વિકાસ અને પરિવર્તનના વાતાવરણ બનાવવામાં અને સફળતા પ્રાપ્ત કરવામાં આપણે સાચા પુરવાર થયા છીએ.
The Prime Minister also spoke on various social issues like Beti Bachao Beti Padhao and gender equality. However, he steered clear of talking about either the Patel agitation or the recent Dalit agitation in the state. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
A government committee set up to find alternatives to pellet guns in the Kashmir Valley suggested the use of chili-filled grenades and stun-lac shells to control mobs. Pellet guns are, however, unlikely to be completely banned. They will be fired in the rarest of rare cases. The 7-member expert committee, headed by Joint Secretary in the Home Ministry, TV.S.N. Prasad, submitted its report to the Home Secretary on Monday. The panel was constituted after scores of protesters were blinded by the use of pellet guns in the valley. Home Minister Rajnath Singh, during his recent visit to Kashmir, had assured that an alternative to pellet guns would be found. The report was prepared after extensive consultations with security forces and examining the ground realities in the Kashmir Valley. The expert committee also recommended standard operating procedures for deployment of this new assortment of non-lethal weapons. News from the stock markets, and the BSE Sensex gained momentum after a gap-up start and reclaimed its crucial psychological level of 28,000 points on Tuesday. Now, the Sensex gained 440 points, or about 1.6%, to close at 28,343 after earlier hitting its highest since July 23rd, 2015. The Nifty closed up 137 points, or 1.6%, at 8,744. This is the biggest single session gain since July 2016, when it had gained 499.79 points. The positive trend came as doubts resurfaced about a possible hike by the US Federal Reserve in September. Most Asian markets ended up with Hong Kong's Hang Seng rising 0.85%, Shanghai's composite index up about 0.15%, and Singapore rising 0.06%, while the Nikkei did end a shade lower. Now, Vice President Muhammad Hamid Ansari paid his respects to Karunakara Guru, the founder of the Santigiri Ashram, on his 90th birth anniversary in Kerala. The Vice President, who was on the second day of his Kerala tour, was accompanied by Governor P. Sathashivam and Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman P.J. Kurian on the occasion.
On the second day of his 3-day visit to Kerala, Vice President Muhammad Hamid Ansari visited the Shantigiri Ashram on the outskirts of Thiruvananthapuram on Tuesday. Accompanied by Governor P. Sathashivam and Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman P.J. Kurian, the Vice President inaugurated the 90th birthday celebrations of Navajyoti Karunakara Guru.
The work done by the Shantigiri Ashram in healthcare and education sectors, particularly in the development of the traditional Ayurvedic practices, is well appreciated. The ashram has also undertaken several community welfare projects, including those for water harvesting and sanitation improvement.
Addressing the gathering of saints, followers of the Guru and members of the civil society, the Vice President said Karunakara Guru had advocated change in the way people lead their lives.
Spirituality is therefore about seeking a meaningful connection with something bigger than yourself, which can result in positive emotions such as peace, contentment, gratitude, and acceptance.
Earlier, members of the ashram gave a warm welcome to the Vice President and the Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman. The Vice President is scheduled to conclude his visit to Kerala on Wednesday. Rajkamal Rao's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Some more national news updates now nationwide. Nepal imposed a 10-year mountaineering ban on Dinesh and Tarakeshwari Rathore, two climbers who claimed to be the first Indian couple to have climbed Mount Everest. A government investigation concluded that photographs purporting to show the couple atop the Everest were faked. Officials say the ban is intended to deter other climbers from making dishonest claims. Dinesh and Tarakeshwari work as constables in Pune. Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung has ordered the transfer of several senior officials engaged in flagship projects of the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi. This is the first major reshuffle by the Lieutenant Governor in the Public Works Department and Environment and Health Departments. Reacting to the LG's order, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal accused Prime Minister Modi of being hell-bent on destroying Delhi. In a tweet, he questioned the process of transfer, asking if this was the Modi form of democracy. The Supreme Court today sought a reply from the Maharashtra government to a challenge raised by the dance bar owners against a new state prohibition law classifying any dance which, according to it, arouses prurient desire in the audience as obscene. The new law was passed by the State Assembly to circumvent a Supreme Court judgment of 2014 which ordered dance bars to be thrown open again and classified dance as a profession. The Delhi High Court directed the Aam Aadmi Party governments and civic bodies in Delhi to take all steps to control dengue in the national capital. The court also issued a notice to the Delhi government and MCDs seeking their response on a plea which accused the authorities of not acting vigilantly and responsibly to control the disease. The court has now fixed the matter for the hearing on the 7th of September. Time for us to take a short break. Lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Gyan chopper is the ancient version of Indian snakes and ladders. This intriguing game was popular among the old, the young, and the rulers as well. The chopper has its origin in the Jain philosophy. It tells the story of virtue, symbolized by the ladders, rewarded, while the vices shown by the snakes are punished. Each square, in turn, also narrates some message of wisdom.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Some international news now. And Brazil's suspended president Dilma Rousseff denied allegations of breaking budget rules as she appeared before the Senate to testify at her impeachment trial. Rousseff said that she was the victim of a political coup d'etat led by those she defeated in the polls in 2014. The Senate will vote later this week to decide her fate.
With the threat of impeachment hanging over her head, Brazil's suspended President Dilma Rousseff defended her record during a marathon session at her impeachment trial. Presenting her defense in the Senate, Brazil's first female president said the economic elite had been trying to destabilize her government since she narrowly won re-election to a second four-year term in 2014.
Sem crime de responsabilidade, qualquer processo de impeachment pela legislação brasileira, esse sim é claro, integral.
Rousseff, who is accused of having taken illegal state loans and spending it on her election campaign, denied any wrongdoing, saying money had no impact on overall deficit levels and was paid back in full the following year. She also said she was a victim of the greatest boycott in the Brazilian lower house of Congress as well as the nation's history.
Eu não assino decretos que não têm esses pareceres. Eu não assino decretos, senador, que eu não tenha a certeza que as áreas técnicas que asseguram o funcionamento do governo não deram de forma clara.
Meanwhile, hundreds of activists favoring Rousseff took to the streets to protest her impeachment trial. The police had to fire tear gas to disperse them after they indulged in arson.
As ruas hoje, porque nós não podemos nos calar diante desse descalabro. É um golpe de Estado, é uma ruptura da democracia, é uma ruptura institucional, é uma ruptura que não interessa ao povo brasileiro, ao Brasil, à América Latina, não interessa inclusive ao mundo.
Senators are due to vote later this week on whether to reinstate her or remove her from office for good. If impeached, Rousseff will become the first Brazilian leader in more than 20 years to be dismissed from office, giving way to Michel Temer to serve the rest of her term through 2018. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some international news now in Global Buzz. An unknown number of people were killed and others injured after a car driven by a suicide bomber exploded at the Chinese embassy in Kyrgyzstan. The bomber died in the attack. Many people are reported to be dead and many injured as well. China's foreign ministry condemned the bombing as an extreme violent attack. No group has claimed responsibility for it so far. Bangladesh's top court rejected a final bail petition by top Islamic leader Mir Qasim Ali against a death sentence for atrocities committed during the 1971 War of Independence. Mir Ali was convicted in November 2014 for a series of crimes during Bangladesh's war of separation from Pakistan. US-led coalition warplanes hit ISIS targets near Jarablus in Syria. In a statement, the military said that two A-10 planes hit and destroyed two IS targets. Turkey-backed forces seized the city from IS militants last week. They've since been pushed into areas held by Kurdish-aligned militias that are supported by Washington. The Philippines today said China will be the loser if it does not recognize an international court ruling against its territorial claims in the South China Sea. China has ignored the ruling that none of its claims in the disputed Spratly Islands are entitled it to a 200-mile exclusive economic zone. Prior to starting bilateral talks, the Philippines plans to seal a deal for China to allow Philippine fishermen to access the resource-rich waters. The owner of Le Sansal, a restaurant in Paris, is facing an investigation after it chased two veiled Muslim women out of its premises on Saturday. His actions, caught on video, provoked a furious response and prompted prosecutors to open an inquiry into racial discrimination. The owner of the restaurant later apologized for his actions as calls to boycott his establishment flooded social media sites along negative reviews. Time now for some sports news, and it's good news for wrestler Yogeshwar Yadav because his 2012 Olympics bronze has been upgraded to a silver after silver medalist, the late Besik Kudokov of Russia, was stripped of his medal for failing a dope test. The four-time world champion and two-time Olympic medalist Kudokov, who died in a car crash in 2013, was found to have used a banned substance in a test conducted by the World Anti-Doping Agency. Dutt had lost to Kudokov in the pre-quarterfinals at London. But once the Russian advanced to the final, Yogeshwar got another chance in the repechage round and went on to win bronze. As a result, Yogeshwar, who had bowed out in the first round of the men's 65kg freestyle at the recently concluded Rio Olympics, has now joined Sushil Kumar as the other silver medalist wrestler from the 2012 Olympics. Well, that's all from us. Goodbye.